Hello, welcome to a new episode of Somewhat Damaged Podcast. I'm your host, Greg Alpern, and with me, as always, John B. Today, we welcome our guest, Don Jamieson. You know Don from the world of stand-up comedy, hard rock and heavy metal music, and his own show, That Jamieson Show.
Don B.
What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Yourself?
Can't complain. I was on a little bit of a bender for a couple of days and then had to relax.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome back. You know, it's funny. I knew you were coming on without sleeves. I knew it. And I'm like, I don't have a single shirt that doesn't have sleeves. And I meant to go cut up my Decade That Rocked t-shirt that Weiss sent me and just cut the sleeves off, and I fucking forgot.
You wore the baseball sleeves today, man. You came strong.
I know, it's coming. LA Guns.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Oh, sick shirt.
What's up,
Well,
man?
it's the summer, we get, we get in this area, we get 3 months of summer, man. So I got no time for sleeves.
Does it even feel like it though, Don? I mean, it was 62 degrees out yesterday, and like I don't know. I was like, this is the mildest fucking summer that we've ever had. Like, I'm used to it being sweltering out there. I'm not feeling it right now.
I'm not feeling it either, but it's the summer, and I'm sticking with the 4 sleeveless shirts I have, and I'm going to milk it until if I can milk it to Halloween, I will.
There's no way you only have 4 sleeveless shirts. There's no way it's just 4. Because the last time we talked on one of these things, it was, I'm pretty sure, like winter time, and you were sleeveless. So the summer thing doesn't jive. But I think your entire wardrobe must be sleeveless.
It's definitely a lot of black t-shirts.
Yeah.
Many with sleeves, many without.
That's how we usually start off this show, is we talk about our t-shirt collections.
But my thing is, when did you start? When did you know when you had your style? Because I've been in the comedy scene for about 6 years now, and I just started 2 years ago, just wearing t-shirts, freaking hoodies and things like that. I was in corporate America for a long time where all I wore were suits. Where do you kind of figure it out? I'm 38 now, so.
Yeah, and John, and when I hit 38, hopefully I'll figure it out too. But I'm like I say, I'm not comparing myself intelligence-wise to Einstein, but they said, to keep his life simple, he basically had 7 of the same exact outfit. So he would just wear the same thing every day, but just, a different set of clothes, but the same exact thing, because then he could just concentrate on everything else. He could just focus on his experiments and all that stuff. And I'm kind of the same way. I'm like a simple guy. I love jeans and t-shirts. Obviously over the years, as a fan, collecting concert shirts from going to tons and tons of shows. Then we start doing that metal show, and bands are mailing us boxes of shirts, and at every show you go to, and local bands, if you go to a local, they want you to wear the shirt on the TV show. There was a point where I had literally 600 concert shirts in my house.
Fuck.
Yeah, I'm the only guy who has a wardrobe rack in his house.
I was going to ask you how many shirts you have, because I imagine it had to be something like that. And I mean, that's an insane amount of t-shirts. I wish I had all my shirts from when I was in high school, all the shows through the 80s and 90s that I bought t-shirts at, and I don't, which sucks. But that's, I can't imagine every show on that metal show that you guys must have walked away with a bag full of shirts.
Was it a different shirt every single time on the show that you guys wore?
Yeah, it became a thing with the fans, because we're 3 legit fans of hard rock and heavy metal, and so you can't have everybody come and sit and guest on the show or be the guest musician or whatever. So wearing a band's t-shirt was also a way to throw a nod and help promote a band.
Sure.
So, I tried to do it with local bands as well that I like, from New Jersey or from New York.
E-Town Concrete, baby.
Right, yeah. So we used to do. So if we never had them on the show, we could still wear the shirt, and people go, "Oh, cool, he likes E-Town Concrete or whoever," you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, it became part of the wardrobe to because they used to give us money for wardrobe, which we immediately
That's cool.
just deposited into our bank account. And never spent it.
There was a period, and Greg, I don't think we've really talked about this. When I went to Seton Hall, so I was on WSOU. So we used to get fucking tons of merch from everyone, from like bands, and like it was great. I remember I had so many Soulfly shirts at one point that I would just start wearing them to sleep, and then I started working for Drive Thru, and then we were able to go to the Drive Thru compound over in Sherman Oaks, and we just raided the whole warehouse, and that was my collection of shit. That's what I wore for a good from 2003 to 2008 was all band shirts, and then I was like, wow, I'm not getting laid anymore, so I had to switch it up to J. Crew.
Well, listen, that's that's a survival instinct, and I appreciate that. But most of the girls that I date, I don't mind if a girl doesn't like hard rock or metal, but it makes it easier, right?
Sure.
So the ones I date, I usually like I had a date Saturday night, and I just wore this black T-shirt with a skull on it, and the girl showed up in a leather skirt and like this tight blazer and this black, like she looked stunning. And I'm like, I apologize. I'm just wearing, I'm wearing like $35 worth of clothing on this date. And, you could tell she took like 2 hours to pick the exact right outfit.
Where'd you get
that's what I'm comfortable in, John. You know what I mean? Like,
I get
that's why I go on stage and something I'm comfortable with, man. Because if I'm up there and I'm like, if I'm trying to be Seinfeld in a suit, I'm going to be like,
fuck that dude, first of all.
Wait, I want to know more about the date. So where'd she come from? Like, how'd you find her?
Well, this is crazy. So I meet this girl at a rock show, which is great, so it's already, we have something in common, but she lives actually up in Connecticut, Greg. So I didn't know what a half point would be from me from Jersey and her, but I was trying to think of a rock thing. So our first date was at Duff's in Brooklyn, which if you don't know Duff's, it's a bar in Brooklyn. It's a heavy metal bar. Like, they have like Slayer and Cannibal Corpse and King Diamond on the jukebox in there. The whole place, like even the ceilings have all this hard rock and heavy metal memorabilia, and they just crank music all night. And that's all we did, man. We put money in the jukebox. We drank PBRs in a can all night and had the best time. So, John, you can get laid in a concert shirt, I assure you.
I mean, usually with me it was groupies, but I'll be honest, if we had the same like social media, I mean, I would be so Me Too'd at this point.
Yeah, it's easy.
I think it's funny that the midway point between Connecticut and Jersey is Brooklyn.
Yeah,
I don't know. I was trying to think of a rock themed thing, so it worked out, man. And man, if people out there haven't been to Duff's, and Greg, if you've never been there, or John, man, you got to get there, man. It's literally a museum to that kind of music. And the guy that owns it, Jimmy Duff, he's the real deal, man. Like his everyday car is a hearse.
Oh no way.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Does it have a coffin in the back? Is it a Kiss coffin?
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, that's his everyday car, man. So I'm like, yeah, and you drive it to Duff's Brooklyn, and you got to try to park that thing on a Saturday night. Good luck.
Jeez, no, I have not been there. I have heard of it. I should get there. We should go one night. It sounds like my kind of place, obviously. So yeah. When are you, John, Don's going out on tour with the Dead Daises to open the show for like a month.
Holy shit, that's so cool. What? How do you, no, I didn't know this.
Well, I've been opening for bands for, a long time. Again, something else born out of that metal show, which is bands just started asking like me and Florentine, hey, you want to come open for us? And so I made it like a little cottage industry of doing that because, you guys listen, you guys know your history of comedy and music. So when was the last time it was really cool for comics to do that? What it was like the late 80s, you know, when Dice was opening for Guns N' Roses, and
Kinnison was on.
Yeah, and Bobcat Goldthwait opened for, I think, for Nirvana on the first U.S. tour. But then, basically because of grunge, it became very uncool for the longest time, and then it didn't really fit with nu metal. So I started doing it around 2010 again, when rock sort of had a little bit of a resurgence, and I've been doing it ever since. So I have a whole 30-minute set that's just rock jokes about bands, musicians, the music, and all that stuff. It's not something I would do at Stand Up New York. Obviously, I have my regular nightclub act. I can't make Black Sabbath jokes in front of a Friday night crowd of NYU students. It doesn't really work. But on the Dead Daises tour, they love it.
Yeah. Imagine. I mean, you've had the racket on pussy bands, not. You opened for Nashville Pussy, Faster Pussycat. There's got to be another band there that's got pussy in the name that you can go out on tour with.
The Pussycat Girls.
The Pussycat Dolls.
I'm available.
Don's ready for that booking, the crossing of two worlds. But we've talked about this before, but it seems like, with that metal show and then going out and doing comedy in front of these, metal and hard rock crowds, like, it seems like you're a part of the family, right? Everyone, knows you as from the show and obviously from your comedy, but really part of the rock and roll community as part of also with comedy. So like when you come on stage, typically you go see a band and people, unfortunately, are not really that into the opening band. A lot of times it's just the guys that are there to, warm up the crowd and whatever. But I imagine you get like such an incredible welcome from all of those crowds, whether they're big or club shows or bigger shows. Like, that's got to be pretty cool. And do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm right?
Yeah, well, I do look at it like I'm the opening band, because I'm direct support. So I got to bring it, So
sure.
Yeah, it's and it's weird, man. The crowds are accepting, and so people have a general idea of who I am. They always put me in the advertising. Yep. It's like every little thing you could do to help me succeed, because I'm doing something so radically different, really. But at the end of the day, it's like doing a bar gig when you first start out in comedy. You drive to 5 hours to Altoona. There's no hotel room. You're playing, some bar that the people don't even really know there's a comedy show. They won't turn the TVs off. And you just got to come out and just attack and just start pounding away at these people and get them going. And if you could do that, you could go out and open for a rock band.
Yeah. I mean, opening for, Nashville Pussy has got to be one intense, show to do, with those guys and what their fans expect from their stage and from their music, and just their all out assault on people.
They're the only band I ever toured with that carries a narco kit with them in case somebody accidentally overdoses.
Right.
John, you should get on that tour. That tour's got John's name all over it.
Steel Panther's probably more my speed, to be honest.
I'm dying to tour with Steel Panther. That I know those guys pretty well, so we've talked about it a bunch of times. We just haven't been able to connect on it, but it's almost like too much, because those guys are so funny. So it's like,
right.
I can't be more outrageous than they are on stage. So, but yeah, they're fun guys, man. It would be good to go out with them. But yeah, there's you got to pick the right band,
Right.
Like,
is there something you would say no to, though, like specifically?
Oh yeah, no, I've turned a bunch of stuff down, but not because I didn't like the bands, just because this is not a good fit. Because I remember Megadeth did a big tour. They called it was like their Ozfest. They called it Gigantour, and it was Megadeth and Slayer and Anthrax and Overkill and all these super heavy bands, and they had Jim MC and do comedy in between, Florentine. And it's like he goes, you can't open up for Slayer as a comedian, like bands don't even want to open for Slayer.
Right.
He says in his act it was like emceeing a rape.
Yeah, that there are a
I
handful
mean,
of
so like
bands.
heavy like that. But what if like Opeth or like something that's a little bit more slower? I mean, would that be like? Would you? I mean, if the money was right, I mean, you would say yes, right?
Again, I think it's not about the band because Opeth is cool, but their audience is not there to smile.
Sure.
You know,
They all got off their shift over at fucking Hot Topic
yeah, right.
or the T-Mobile, and they're just like, "Yeah, we're gonna do this."
Right. Who's this creepy old guy with the jokes?
And no sleeves. What's going on here?
Yeah, I come into stand up New York when I'm lucky enough to play there. I put sleeves on. I'm respectful, but on the road with the bands, no sleeves. No sleeves necessary.
Certainly in the summer. Fuck that. So when does that start? That's in September?
Yeah, we start September 10th in Rockford, Illinois, the home of Cheap Trick. So it's a good rockin' city to start out in. We're covering most of the country. We'll be in New York at the Sony Theater sometime in September, and we're just traveling all over the place. I'll be, you got Glenn Hughes, who's a rock and roll Hall of Famer, who's in Deep Purple in that band. It's really an all-star band with Doug Aldrich from Whitesnake and Tommy Clifetos on drums, who played with Black Sabbath on the last tour, and then the guy who put it all together is this guy David Lowy from Australia, who's basically like a businessman, like his day job, but he's he wanted to be a rocker, so he used all his funds to put together this killer band, and let's just say we're going to travel very well.
Oh, sure. I'm sure.
So are you guys all in the same bus? How's this working?
Well, Greg, when we're not on the bus,
you're on a plane. Really?
I didn't want to say anything.
Come on, private jet. Wow, look at you, Don Jamieson, like flying around private jets. Shit. I should have got better beer last Saturday night.
They looked at this and said, "We want to take him around the country on a private jet."
God damn it! That's pretty awesome.
Hey, Don, I got a question though. Is there
John's like, how am I going to book you and stand in New York now? I can't afford to fly you in New Jersey.
Yeah, enjoy. Hey, Don, for 15 minutes, you want to do for $25 while you're fucking flying on a G6?
That's the beauty of me. The answer is absolutely I do.
Okay, good. But my question is, we always hear this story that comedians always want to be rock stars and rock stars always want to be comedians. Is that the truth, though? I mean, like, listen, I personally don't see it a lot of times just because I guess, I don't know. I think it's a different vibe, but everyone like kind of pokes fun at you guys, like Don, like you and Jim, as well as Big J, maybe like, oh, you guys just want to be rock stars. But is that the truth, though? I mean, granted, you're going on tour with these, but like, would you do a stadium that's filled with 30,000 people where nobody's listening to you, or would you rather do a club of like 25 people on a Tuesday where everybody's laughing hysterically?
Well, I'd still rather do the 30,000 people to say I did it, but the real answer, John, and I know what you're getting at, is of course I always, it's never about the numbers. I'd much rather have a great crowd of 25. But no, I mean, listen, are you asking me, would you go bomb at the Garden that's sold out, or would you rather play 25 people? I'd rather bomb at the Garden because at least I can say I played the Garden.
And more than $25. You leave in with more than $25.
I'd make at least 50 there.
Yeah, money. It's worth the bomb.
They have the budget, but no, listen. So from a comedian standpoint, John, I love the brotherhood of being out on the road with the bands, like you said, on the tour bus, and we're going city to city, and we're taking over. All right, tomorrow we're in Kansas City. We're going to kick their ass. And there's a great brotherhood that you miss when being a comic, because it's such more of obviously it's a more of an isolated thing. We're very singular. But then the good thing is I don't get any of the band drama, right? This guy's wife wants him to come home from the road. This guy is not he's not in time. This guy's solo sucks. They're arguing over this, that, and the other, and I'm out of it. So I get all the good of it without being in it. And then a lot of times on the road, I'll, depending on the band, I either come up and sing like a song at the end with the singer, like I'll do the encore, or I'll play guitar or something. So I get all the goodness of that without any of the drama, because, bands are like the Real Housewives of rock and roll. I mean, there's always fighting and shit like that going on. And then as far as the other way, some of the biggest influences on me were rock guys, not even necessarily comics. Of course, I grew up loving, Carlin, Cheech and Chong and Pryor and all those guys. But, guys like David Lee Roth, every interview he did, you're like cracking up laughing. Now you have no idea what he's saying, but he's having so much fun. You start laughing, and the next thing you know, you have tears running down your face. Alice Cooper always gives funny interviews. Who else? Pete Steele from Typo Negative was real dry and self-deprecating. Even Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. Like, I used to watch his stage presence and go, yeah, that's how you go out and like grab a crowd. Like, he was the master of getting out there, just go, come on, motherfucker, let's do this. And, so those guys influenced me as much, and they were all hilarious. And so they influenced me as much comedically, or maybe just more of my stage presence.
Do you, like, all the time you spent with Dice, like, do you look at that as kind of like the origination of rock and roll comedy? Not rock and roll comedy, but like bringing the rock and roll like attitude to the world of comedy and the stage. Yeah,
definitely. Because Dice did it the biggest. He opened for Guns N' Roses at the Rose Bowl, like 100,000 people. So, but yeah, Dice also just brought that. Like, he's more than just a guy standing there talking to a mic. And you ask Dice anytime, he'll tell you the same thing. He doesn't really like comics. He thinks they're boring, so he always wanted to add that extra element into the show. And definitely, listen, I didn't open for Dice during like the Madison Square Garden days, stuff like that. But his crowds are still Dice crowds. And, you had to get out and give a performance, man. He would always laugh because, when he comes out, he doesn't say anything for like the first 2 minutes. He strolls out, he takes a cigarette out. He moves the stool a couple inches, he takes a drag, and it makes me mental, because when they introduce me, I'm running to the mic as fast as I can. And I look, and he's cracking up. He's like, why do you run to the mic? I go, because if I don't get to that mic before one of your fans yells out, you effing suck, it's over.
Yeah, that.
So that teaches. That was like, that was comedy university with him. It's like, get out there and get going.
Yeah, I can imagine like those audiences have got to be similar to like the Slayer audience they're just waiting to pummel you if you don't grab them by the throat from the get go.
Oh, I'll do that stand up in New York. Somebody won't be like walk up as fast, and we'll go pussy.
It's nice when the booker heckles you. That's
heckling my own comedian.
That's always a fun time. You're listening to another episode of the Somewhat Damaged Podcast, part of the Storic Media Podcast Network, and brought to you by Corona Premier, now available on draft. So, like, we were together a couple weeks ago at Jim's taping, which was awesome. Like, how do you think that whole thing went down? Like, were you happy with it? Like, had the crowd, seemed like awesome for that.
I think the key is to just tell every audience that it's a TV taping.
Yeah.
Because they were so ready to go, like right from, I had no, it was me. I went out cold.
Yep.
And listen, my role was, to set him up, for Jim to film a great special. So, I just wanted to go out and get to it and do my thing. And, I haven't gone out like first, like in front of an ice cold crowd in a while. But they were already pre-warmed up when I got out there, and dude, everything was just magic that night. But yeah, I think when you tell people it's a taping, they get a little extra excited about it, which was good.
Yeah. It seemed like like the first set, the first show, I thought went like flawlessly and it was perfect. I'm like, wow, he got it. Like, there you go. There's your hour. And then that second crowd came in for a 9:30 show, like so hot. Like, And then I'm like, holy crap, like that's it. Like that, and then obviously the magic of editing will make it look all crazy. But like that was really cool to see that later crowd like just ready to, kill it for you guys.
Those are the kind of nights, Greg, man, where you just go like, this is why I got into it. These are the kind of these are the kind of places, these are the kind of crowds I want to be in front of. Because like I said, man, when you start early on, man, you're not playing comedy clubs. You're playing the back room, of a bar or a hotel banquet room or whatever, man. You really gotta win those crowds over, man. So to step out on the stage and look, obviously, people, that was a Jamieson Florentine friendly crowd, but still, man, to go out and to have that much love from people and to not have to work so freaking hard, to win them over, man. It felt so good. I was still buzzing like the whole next day from it, man. It was just, that second crowd, man. It was like they came off the party bus ready to go.
Yeah. And the party bus had already left. But, to be honest, I was nervous. Truly, I was nervous because, Fairfield, Connecticut, where we taped this, with you guys and for Jim is not, like necessarily that crowd, right? So I'm like, I wonder what this is.
It's a hoity-toity crowd. What do you expect?
And we sold, obviously a lot of tickets to people to come out and see this. And I'm like, man, I hope these audiences are, know what they're expecting. And they're not necessarily just coming out because it's a taping. They're coming out because it's Jim. And then when we added you, so that like, it would be a hometown friendly crowd. I was nervous. And then once I saw that first crowd like rolling, I'm like, all right, like this is good. And then the second one, I'm like, holy shit. I was like, very
my friend Jane was at the second show and she said there was an older couple, probably like early 70s, sitting in front of them who really didn't know what was going on. And she said, at first, when you first came out, they were chuckling or whatever. And then she goes, there was just a certain point where you broke them. Right. And they both looked at each other like, oh my God, this is hysterical. And she said the rest of the night, they were just in tears, but they didn't know from us from anything, but they got into the spirit of it. And, it was hard with that crowd. That was the thing with Dice back in the day, man. It's like, if you were in the crowd for Dice and you weren't like cracking up at everything he said, like you feel like the people around you would like hit the shit out of you,
Right.
Like, how come you're not getting into this, bro? This is Dice. So, I mean, I'm not putting me or Jim on that level, but I'm just saying like that crowd was so good. Like you had to get caught up in the fever of it. It was just so much fun.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I love how, Greg, that you get also the goosebumps and, it's always good, when we work with people that kind of are still excited about, listen, Greg and I are not in, we're in the realm, but we're not you guys going up on stage. We just did our own event, but it's great to have that feeling and talking and hearing you, Don, being so like excited about like a good crowd and still feeling high. Like that makes I'm getting like goosebumps right now myself. Like it's something that I don't hear a lot with you. No, I'm not going to come yet. Show me your feet. But this is something that like I always feel that younger comics don't hold on to. Like I've seen comics get off their Tonight Show appearance and they'll come back to the club that night and watch it and just be like, I fucked up with that. Like they can't even like hang on to that high. Like I just don't understand it. You have to appreciate everything at this point.
I see that too sometimes. I don't know, maybe it's just because I have more experience, obviously, because I've been doing it longer, and I've had the ebbs and flows of stuff. Some of these young comics are getting like stuff way too soon before they're really ready for it, and so maybe they don't appreciate it that much, or especially nowadays. If you're 22 and you have 5 minutes, they'll give you anything. Pretty much, of course, because then now everybody's just looking for diversity and, we want a female, and we want a transgender, and we have to have this and that. And instead of looking at who are the funniest people, they just put people on. But listen, I'm grateful I'm always happy for comics, no matter what. I'm a comic. I'm still a fan of comedy. I think that helps if you're still a fan of comedy. So I always look at it like, hey, I want everybody to do good, man. There's enough room for all of us. But yeah, man, you know, when you go through the highs and lows of it over the years, man, you know, you really, it makes you appreciate it. Cause, you know, you could kill 20 times in a row, but there's always a crowd waiting around the corner to knock you down a few pegs.
All right, and I'm going to ask you a kind of a loaded question here, Don. What do you feel is the state of comedy right now? Is it going in the right direction, or is it losing what it's supposed to be?
Well, let's see. Well, let me look at my book and see how many stand-up New York dates I have in here. I don't have any, so it kind of sucks right now for me. I'm not working in the city as much as I'd like to, but I'm going to give it to you this way. Here's what I'm seeing and sensing and feeling from the crowds post-pandemic, which is, you know, pre-pandemic, people were really starting to get tight, man, especially working down, like, say, down the West Village on a Friday or Saturday night, and it's 25 and under NYU college kids. Man, you really got to work hard with those crowds, man, because they are so hypersensitive. And I remember one girl got mad at me because I didn't bash Trump. Jeez. Like they get mad at things you don't say. That's how nuts it started getting. But what I'm seeing is crowds are really actually, even though we're more PC than ever, the crowds are more open. They're like, just say everything and anything. We don't care. We've been locked up for a year plus. Please just say whatever the dirtiest shit you have, the edgiest stuff you have, just hit us with everything. We're back. We're ready for you. So I'm sure that pendulum will swing back a little bit again at some point when we're really, really fully like through this. But right now, I got to say, the audiences have been way better than they've been in a long time.
Yeah, I agree, actually. I mean, I've seen that in the nights I've been in the city, in the clubs and all the shows we do out here, that it seems like you can sort of say anything and, you know, within reason. But
you got to be funny about it.
Yeah, of course. You have to. I was going to say, but it's got to be funny. Like, it just can't be shock value. It can't be poorly done, poorly written. It needs to be funny. And if it's funny, then it works. And, you know, me and John talk about this all the time, where, like, if people are coming to comedy clubs and they're going to get offended by something, you're in the wrong place. Like, stay home and watch Housewives, which is probably more offensive to the average person.
Right, and that's what they've been doing. And then they realized in the pandemic, they go, God, this is a colossal waste of time.
Yeah.
Really? I watched the Tiger King for 6 months? Oh, Jesus. We got to get out of the house. So, and now that I'm remembering the joke, because it's a little bit outrageous, but the joke that broke the old people was the joke I did about going to see the Queen cover band, and the guy playing Freddie Mercury was so realistic, he blew me in the dressing room after the show. And she goes, that was the one that they broke on, and they just went, all right, we're in. We're in. Let's go.
You know, it's funny because I think the earlier show, I gave a ticket to a woman who I know locally. She's a single woman in her 70s, and she's like an aspiring comedian, right? So I met her at these open mics, right? She's 73 years old or something. And, you know, she's very funny for like a 73-year-old who's just getting into stand-up comedy, widowed. And she, the next day, sent me so many, like, that was awesome. I didn't know those guys. They were like, that was the funniest night I've had since this whole thing started. It was literally the first thing she's gone out to do socially since the lockdown started. And 73 years old, had the best time. She went alone. And, you know, now she's, obviously you guys have fans of a 73-year-old. I can give you her number. Name Stephanie. Probably has leather pants and a rock shirt. But, you know, I think it's true. And she, you know, when I've seen her act, she's as like dirty and filthy as like a 22-year-old girl who thinks that that's her way into, you know, stand up. And it's funny.
It's interesting, man. It's funny. My last album, like, there's literally maybe 2 dirty jokes on the whole album. And I was like, God, what happened to me? I used to have all these great dirty jokes, but I still have a few good ones, but Yeah, I mean, again, as long as it's funny, who cares? You know, it's it is what it is. Whatever your style is, as long as you do it well, that's all that matters. And now, John, we were talking about like still having that passion for stuff. I can still think of that chick in the front row who didn't like me because I didn't bash Trump, and now I'm getting angry again about that. That was like 2.5 years ago. I'm still pissed about that.
Well, Don, Greg, let's bring her out. Let's bring her out right now.
We found her. Her name.
Let's bring out the 73-year-old. She's going to have a much more interesting story to tell than a 25-year-old whose daddy pays for everything.
Oh.
The 73-year-old, at least we could talk like, hey, so how didn't you die in a nursing home during this?
Yeah, her name is Stephanie S. And she, like, when she asked me she wanted to come, and I told her I would hook her up, she was like, can you just make sure you put me next to a attractive single 40 to 60-year-old guy? And I'm like, you're on your own. Like, I can't, I can't.
Is there, I mean, there's got to be like we always talk about dirty versus what's dirty, but isn't there, like, I think sometimes a lot of comics confuse dirty and what's shocking, and I think they sometimes go for that shock of value, and I see it a lot, specifically in the open mic rooms with traditionally like younger men, and they think that shock is worth the funny. I mean, I think that's on the other side is the same idea that wokeness and giving like this harsh opinion about society doesn't get you a laugh, it gets you a clap. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's something that I think that we struggle on both sides, and it's nice to hear that people, like you, Don, that has been this business, that you can say, you know what, I'm happy for people to get stuff, but as long as you're funny, that's what it has to be. You know what I mean? Many a times we will see these people that will be getting these sets on television, and you're just like, how the hell did you get that based off of your 5 minutes? And but it's nice to know that there's some people out there that are just like, you know what, I'm proud of them, but the ecosystem will take care of them in the long run.
Yeah, I think so. And again, like, I'm still a fan of comedy. It's like musicians. If musicians aren't fans of music anymore, then it's the same thing. It kind of takes away from the whole thing, because you really want to enjoy what you do. And if I'm going to be around comics my whole life, I want to enjoy all the different flavors and stuff that are out there. But I did a club a few months ago, and and it was a big lineup, and I was and I closed the night out. And it just seemed to me like every comic went up and they were, okay, I'm half, my dad's Asian and my mom's Irish, and like that used to be an old comic thing. I'm half Scottish, half Irish, whatever. I'm all bag, no pipe, whatever, that kind of thing. But there's not even a joke to it. Now it's just the announcement of,
right,
my dad's Indian, my mom is Jewish,
and it's like, oh my God, yes, congrats.
So I get up there and I'm like, all right, the old man, they got the old man in here. I'm the Joe Biden of the show. I love my diverse cabinet. But they brought the old man up to close it out, because the old man has jokes. And it was just a fun night, and it really was a good time. But yeah, it's, again, you got to do, shocking is fine, or dirty is fine. But, I like, again, with experience, the more stuff you've written over the years, the more you're not relying on shocking, or you're not relying on dirty. If you ask me, if John, you say, hey, I'm going to do a all clean show, I could do that. If you say, I want to do an all dirty show, I can do that one too. When I do my regular nightclub set, I love to do like a really dirty joke and then follow it up with the cleanest, silliest joke that I have, because it keeps the audience guessing. They don't know where I'm going to go, Yeah. But you gotta have the time, under your belt to be able to do that, So, I love doing stuff like that. I love taking left turns where people just like, wait a minute, he just said Freddie Mercury blew him in the dressing room, and now he just told the cleanest, nicest joke.
Yeah.
Right after it,
Well, Don, I want to see it. You're right. We haven't had you in the club in a long time. We got to get you up there weekend.
I'm breaking your balls, man.
I know, but still, like every time that we see each other, like the last time I saw you, I think it was with Jim. But yeah, I want to. Let's do a hang. Fucking Greg will be there. We'll eat some food, have a good time. Speaking of food,
now, I got my book.
All right, good game. What do you want? I got all weekends available. What would you like, sir?
We'll connect after. I'm
Sounds good.
He's got a pile of individual 20s.
I'm always appreciative of what I get, man.
We'd love to get you back in New York, guys. So, but speaking of food that we just talked about, like, because when you come to the club, Greg and I are always big on the food. What was the best thing that you ate this month? I'm gonna give you
my date Saturday night.
Oh, I'm over here
now. Yeah. I munched on a box. Oh. Oh, those beef flips. I got the key.
It's so good because you know him so well.
I ate a hairy dungeon. Best thing I ever ate on the road? Oh my God.
Although let's take it to this month. I mean, usually we say what's your best thing you had to eat this week, but it's only Monday. You gonna go through the book?
I'm looking in the book. I'll see where I.
We'll go to you, Greg, on this one while Don looks at his book.
Oh, a club that actually books me sometimes, Caroline's. I had some good food there.
Was there air conditioning working? Was the air conditioning on? Did it work?
Was the air conditioning working on that?
2 of the 3 nights the air conditioning worked.
Fucking 19 months, couldn't fix that, Caroline? What the fuck? But you have Schumer on your stage.
You know what's funny about comedy club food is that whenever a new club opens, and they roll out the red carpet for you. They're like, here's the menu, anything lobster, whatever you want on here, and all your friends can order, blah 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 blah. And then you go back 6 months later, and they just hand you like a little scrap of paper. Here's the 2 things you could have: mozzarella sticks and chicken fingers. There's no, you gotta pay, and there's no booze involved, and there's no, we don't pay for the hotel room because comics ruin that shit right away.
Of course. Sherrod Small ruined it for everybody in New York City.
So when a club first opens, just get all the perks out of it you can, because the next time you go back, they'll all be gone.
Oh, when I went to the opening of the Stand, I abused the fuck out of that. I had everything. I was making a pizza by myself one day. It was fantastic.
You're in the kitchen.
Yeah. Now I walk in, they're just like, no.
John, you got to go.
I do. I have to get out of here, guys. But, dude, John, let's connect, please. I'd love to see you soon, man. In the city. We'll hang out on the Upper West Side. Guys, I'll leave you guys. Later.